Thank you. Great.
Good evening. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for our first talk of the fall semester with Tracy Z and Maleeff. I'm Grace, and the Program Director of the SLA Student Group, and I wanted to start with a short introduction of our group. We are a student body interested in special librarianship and dedicated to promoting the professional development of our members. Our programs bring working professionals to share their experiences and expertise with our students. Our fall series features distinguished LIS leaders dedicated to supporting emerging information professionals. We are constantly looking for new ways to provide valuable information to iSchool students, and we very much love your participation. After the talk, we invite you to take a few minutes for a short survey and let us know more about you and your interests. And also tonight, we will be live tweeting with the hashtag SJSU/SLA. So please join us and participate. Now, I would like to introduce our president, Basha Delaska-Elliott.
Hello. Thank you, Grace. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for advertising the survey. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SJSU Special Libraries Association Student Group event tonight. My name is Basha Delaska-Elliott, and I'm the group's chair. Tonight, I would like to introduce a very engaging speaker and a friend of our group, if I may say so. I hope I may. Tracy Maleeff. Hello, Tracy.
Hello.
Hello. Tracy is a law firm librarian. She is the Library Resources Manager at Duane Morris Law Firm in Philadelphia, and she holds many leadership positions within SLA. She is the recipient of a 2014 Dow Jones Innovate Award, and just this year, Tracy was named SLA Fellow. Congratulations. That's a really huge honor.
Thank you.
If you are interested in what SLA is doing, list topics or career tips, I highly recommend, and I would like to invite you to follow Tracy on Twitter. And I'm going to type that in. Tracy is at Library Sherpa. If I can type. And follow her blog, librarysherpa.com. And of course, you can read more about Tracy and her achievements on our website, which I had posted earlier, but maybe I'll be able to do that again. And there it is. Okay, today Tracy is going to reveal the secrets of successful networking. And networking is always a timely topic. So without further ado, I am handing the mic over to Tracy. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I refresh my memory, we have an hour, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do my best to be mindful of time. I like to talk. So I have two timekeeping devices in front of me to try and stay on track. So feel free to give me the hook if I start to go off on a tangent here. So first, before I really get started, I just want to cover a couple things. So hello, everyone. You may have heard me speak back in May, on May 4th. I did a presentation called Prep for Success, Your Career in Special Libraries and Beyond. There may be some duplication. I did try to make things as different as possible, but I do have some standard things that I cover because we did talk about networking a little bit in that session. So if you were on that other session, I apologize. You will hear some things again. I tried to change some of my jokes around, so, you know, it's still all good material, but I just want to give you a heads up. So just like the description of the session, I will talk about the importance of networking for professional development, career advancement, and maybe, if you're lucky, also develop some friendships out of it. But let's concentrate on the professional development and career advancement. So just, you know, as the session description says, I'm going to walk you through the creation, maintaining, and sustaining of professional relationships. I'm guessing that you probably weren't aware that there was actually different stages of it. It is a process, and much like things in life, it's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. The last thing I want to mention before I begin is I have built in some Q&A slides in my presentation. I believe there's 4. So we'll get to a slide. I'm going to stop and just have you guys ask questions. Grace and Basha, if you're still going to be on this, I might need some help kind of culling the questions from the chat box because I'm not really going to be able to keep my eyes on that. But we'll be able to pause and ask questions so you don't have to save everything for the end. So I thought that would work well. All right, let us begin? So here, just, gosh, I kind of covered all this already. Those are my dogs. Sammy's on the left and Reese is on the right. So there's my information, and I jokingly called this my librarian street cred. My degrees. Oh, one thing I want to mention about my degree, I also did my MLIS distance learning, so I get you guys, I feel you, so I feel like I am a friend to your group, so I know what that is like. Pittsburgh did actually have a once a term on-campus requirement, but I still mostly had the distance learning experience. I guess my latest street cred that I wanted to add is down at the bottom. I was very surprised to learn that a contributed paper that I wrote, that I co-authored, I should say, with another SLA member, Leslie Howerton Hicks, was awarded Best in Show, was Best Contributed Paper for the annual conference this year. And you can see from the title, Network Like Nobody's Watching, Demystifying Networking as a Skill for the Librarian and Information Professional Community. That's basically, more reason of why I'm talking to you today. It's something that I've practiced myself, and I've written about it, and I talk about it. So in case any of you are wondering, who is this person and why is she talking to us, that's kind of my street cred there. So I hope that passes muster. All right, let's dig in. One thing that I was careful to put in the description is that this was a label-free zone. And what do I mean by that? I really, really, really dislike these words a lot. I dislike introvert, I dislike extrovert, and I dislike ambivert. I dislike them so much I can't even pronounce them correctly. So for a couple of reasons, and let me explain. So this is the only time I'm going to use these words in this presentation, and I want you guys to understand why I don't like them, and I want you to not like them also and understand why. The first thing is that I don't think that people ever fully understand what these terms really mean. I think a lot of people just say, oh, introvert means shy. Yeah, not exactly. I mean, yeah, kind of. But, it was a principle developed by Carl Jung. Introverts tend to be preoccupied with their own thoughts and feelings and minimize contact with other people. With their motives and actions are directed inward. An extrovert, Jung said, the motives and actions are directed outward. Extroverts are more prone to action than contemplation. Adjust easily, things like that, show interest in their surroundings. And then ambivert was allegedly a term coined in 1927 that is someone who combines characteristics of the two. So I think, first of all, a lot of people, I hear people say what they think these terms mean, and they're not exactly right. Another one is people use it as a crutch. Oh, I can't go to that event because, oh, I'm an introvert. No, you can't go to the event because you're not trying. It's a skill. This is why I want to beat this into your heads. Networking is a skill. It is not a part of a personality trait. It's not something you're born with. It's not like athleticism. Not everyone is naturally athletic. Some work hard at it. Some just work out. And some just barely make it around a mini golf course. But you know what? You're out there and you're doing it. So it's, those results are in direct relation to the practice, effort, and dedication you put into it. So that's all I'm asking of you, is to consider networking a skill and nothing to do with your personality. So I guess I just want to make sure that people can understand that, because not only do people use it as a crutch to not network, but sometimes people actually use it as an excuse for bad behavior. I've actually overheard people say things like, if they had too much to drink at a reception, of, oh, well, I'm an extrovert. No, you just might not be able to, control your alcohol consumption. It has nothing to do with you being an extrovert. So I just don't want people to fall into the pitfalls of using these terms incorrectly and using them as crutches or excuses. All right, so no more of those words. All right. Why is networking important? So here's a quote here that I pulled from a paper. Networking behaviors are individuals' attempts to create and maintain relationship with others who can assist them in their work and development of their careers. And what are these pictures, you're asking yourself? These pictures here are people that I have met solely through networking, and I keep in touch with them at varying degrees. The one in the middle there, the woman in the pink shirt, is my former boss, I networked with her at SLA in 2007 in Denver. We kept in touch once a month, and for about a year and a half or so, when a job opened up at her firm, I was the first phone call she made and said, "Send me your resume." We just had a casual lunch every month or other month or so, and again, I just maintained a relationship. And we were going to get together. We see each other infrequently, and my firm happened to give me Phillies tickets that night, so I said, "Do you want to go to the Phillies game on the firm's tickets?" And she doesn't work for my firm anymore, so she did that. So I just wanted to kind of share you some success stories, because I know it's easy for me to say, oh, go out there and network, but I want to tell you some real things. So some other networking is, I mentioned Leslie Howerton Hicks. Well, she and I co-authored that paper that was named Best in Conference, and we didn't meet until the conference in Boston. We networked with each other through Twitter, corresponded, text, email, collaborated on this paper, and the reason why we came together is because we noticed on Twitter that we both were railing against those words that were from the previous slide, and we talked a lot about networking. We just picked up from social media that we had these things in common. So you know what? We, again, practiced what we preached, and we networked with each other, did this paper, and, I hugged her for the first time in Boston when we found out that our paper won. So things really can happen when you network. I'm not just making this up. A couple other examples I wanted to give you was there were two people that I met, again, at my very first SLA conference, 2007 in Denver. One through social media I kind of keep in close contact with. I didn't see her again until 2013 SLA's conference when she was an award winner. But again, still, I was in a meeting one time at work, and my boss said, "I want to get a Twitter account just like this law firm Brian Cave has." Well, I started to smile, and my boss said, "Let me guess, you know someone there." I said, "Yeah, I do. She's actually someone that I've been networking with for years." So I was able to send a quick email, said, "Oh, tell me how your library runs your Twitter account." She sent me back all kinds of information, and within a week, I had my own firm library up and running on Twitter. And again, because I maintained a relationship, a professional relationship. The last example I wanted to give you is someone who, again, I met in 2007, very infrequently keep in touch, and mostly through email and LinkedIn, and maybe even once a year keep in touch. But out of the blue, a couple months before the SLA 2015 conference, she sent me an email and said, "Oh, I understand SLA is here in Boston where I am this year. I'd really like to do something and get involved. You know people in SLA. Who do I contact to do that?" Well, the funny thing is I was chair of the conference this year, so I had to laugh and say, "Well, I'm the person you would talk to about that." So her response was, "Oh, if it's for you, yeah, I'll do anything, whatever you want." And again, because we've cultivated this relationship. So I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear that, this is not fantasy. This actually really happens, and I have proof to tell you about it and some photos. All right. Okay, this article really worked me up. So first thing I want to mention is there's two headlines that I clipped here, I put on the slide. They're actually the same exact article. This Women 2.0 website had a very clickbait title and a more positive title for the same exact article. I looked it over, the same exact wording. So the first one is very clearly clickbait. How to ditch that sleazy feeling when you network, negotiate, or face conflict, which I don't even know what that means. And then the second one's a little bit more nurturing, right? Mind tricks to help you embrace networking, negotiating, and facing conflict head on. So what annoyed me, and I put this in bold, the bold was mine, is the word schmoozing. Schmoozing. It's a Yiddish word that the why schmoozing is not networking is because the connotation in Yiddish is that it's to take advantage of someone. It's to, yes, it is to chat them up and to get to know them, but with the ulterior motive of of you benefiting, of manipulation, of you getting something over on them. That's not networking, so it infuriates me when people replace, the word networking with schmoozing. No, 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 no. And that's not what it is. And you know what? And maybe that's why people were feeling sleazy, and that's why I titled this slide, "You're doing it wrong." You're not supposed to manipulate people and try to get something out of them. True professional networking is a give-and-take relationship. It's not about what you can get out of the other person. It's about having a healthy, even exchange. Your very first thought should be, when you meet someone, what do I have to offer that person? You may not even be able to recognize at first what you have, to offer them, but that's fine, especially when you're first getting started. It might be a little lopsided, but you know what? The other person might see something in you that that they will want to connect with you about. And to paraphrase Don Corleone in The Godfather, someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me. And again, saying that tongue in cheek. So my point being is that someone will let you know how you can be use of them in a proper professional networking relationship, and then what you do, they may offer something in return, or you may then, an idea may spark in your head. So I know I'm speaking in very vague terms, so let me get very specific. So say, for example, you meet someone and they say, "Oh, Dr. D. Oh, would you be able to introduce me?" Bam. That's an exchange there. And then you may find out that they work at Boeing. Like, "Oh, I'm really interested in aerospace, can you get me in contact with, is there a librarian there, or are you the librarian? Can you tell me about that?" That's the kind of exchange of information. So again, does everyone, I'm going to look at the chat room now. So does everyone understand the difference between schmoozing and networking? Everyone's clear? I don't know how common that is, that people ever felt sleazy networking. So that was a surprise to me, and something that I want to make sure that I get out there, that it is not the same. So we've come to our first question break. So I'm going to scroll back to the chat room, or you can put some new questions in there. What questions do we have so far? Okay, I don't see any past questions. Does anybody have any questions right this moment? No pressure. And that's fine if you don't. I just wanted to make sure that I added. Oh, thank you to whomever's live tweeting. I just wanted to make sure we added in question time so that you don't have to hold it until the end and then, out of context, it doesn't make sense. Okay, it looks like we are good. So let's just keep moving along here. All right, so let's get to the first part, creating a network. All right, especially when you are a student or a new professional, you must be part Blanche DuBois and part Otter when creating a network. Let me explain what I mean. Photo on the left, Vivian Leigh in the film version of the Tennessee Williams play Streetcar Named Desire. Famous line from that work: "I've always depended on the kindness of strangers." When you're just starting out and creating a network, you are going to have to be dependent on the kindness of strangers, meaning the people in our profession who are going to introduce you to people, who will help you network, who will see you standing alone at an event and go over and talk to you. There is a common knowledge associated with people who are more advanced in the profession that we do have a duty. And if people don't believe this, I tell them that they have to. That we really need to reach out to the new professionals and the students, because where are you going to start? It's intimidating enough just to walk up to these strangers and start a conversation. But if there are people in your profession that are well known, that's even more intimidating. So you are going to be a little reliant on people reaching out to you. So accept their help, thank them, network with them, but accept their help, and like I said, just know that it's something that people who've been around for a while do like to help people. And then what do I mean by otter? So the photo on the right, hopefully we have some people who know Animal House here. So Otter is the character Eric Stratton. And his one of his famous lines from the movie Animal House is he would just walk up to someone, thrust out his hand and say, "Eric Stratton, Rush Chairman, damn glad to meet you." So you also need to be proactive, okay? You also need to take some responsibility to get out there and, you know what, just introduce yourself to people. So it's a very delicate balance. I know that I'm showing two very, very different things. But I just wanted to let you know is that, you know, you do need to get out there. You do have some responsibility of creating your own network. So, you know, whether these particular examples resonate with you or not, you know, pick something that is going to, and actually I'm going to get to that in a second, but, you know, pick something that's going to help you get motivated to be proactive. All right, so here's some tips. Let's go over some things about networking in person. For the most part, I'm going to be talking about conferences, but I'm going to do my best to remember just also smaller events. Try to think of, you know, any time that there's a meetup in person. These are things that you should be doing. So the first one, business cards. Now, if you're not actually in a job yet, they're also called calling cards. You know, places like Vistaprint, Moo, Zazzle have very inexpensive options. You can create these calling cards. You put your contact information, put your LinkedIn, if you have a Twitter account, if you have a blog, you know, put some information that you're a, you know, a San Jose State University student, some of your interests. And I feel terrible right now. I meant to scan my business card and my calling card and put them on a slide, but I'm terribly sorry. I got very busy at work this afternoon and forgot to do it. But basically one is my straight up business card, and I also have another card that I created that has all my Library Sherpa information on it. And why do I do that? Well, sometimes I'm in a situation where I don't want to represent my firm, or I don't want to give the impression that I'm representing my firm. So for example, I was at a tech event recently, and I don't have anything to do with tech at my firm, so I didn't want to hand out my business card as if I was there representing my firm. But sure enough, somebody asked me where I worked, and I said where I worked, and even though I didn't give her my business card, she still remembered and still emailed my Gmail account and tried to, you know, sell me on something from my firm. And I said, no, I was there as Library Sherpa. I wasn't there as you know, the Library Resources Manager. Work the room. Don't stand in a corner. Don't stand by the punch bowl. But I do have to say, though, if you go to conferences at Marriott's, they have this really good artichoke dip, and that do you know how many times I've just gone up to people and say, can you believe how great this dip is? So feel free to use that as an icebreaker yourself. But seriously, this crab avocado or artichoke dip is amazing. So work the room, see what food's there. You know, if you need an icebreaker, to say to someone like, oh, you know, these desserts look amazing. Look at this. Anything to get in. Know your audience. In case you haven't picked up on this already in library school, librarians tend to run the gamut of personalities. Some may be more awkward than others, and you know, just kind of know your audience, know who you're talking to. I mean, I guess this could be said for, you know, for people in general, the general public, but sometimes within library world, you might have some quirkier lots. So just know your audience. Don't, you know, talk about anything risque if there's someone who, you know, might not seem like they would find that funny. You know, just kind of general social etiquette. If you're not familiar with that is, then look that up, because, yeah, know your audience when you're talking to them. And that can even apply to just even like technical things. Don't get too techy with someone who you quickly find out is not tech savvy, because then that's just an awkward conversation if you're talking about one thing and they have no idea what you're talking about. That just makes things awkward for everyone. Remember the 1/3 rule. I heard someone speak one time about networking, and basically he laid it out this way. 1/3 of the people you meet are going to have something about them that is going to, you know, interest you professionally, that, you know, you want to network with them. Another 1/3 of the people you meet will see something in you that they will want to network with you and develop a professional relationship. The last set of people, just forget about them. It might not be, as they say, a love match. You may just not mesh. Your personalities may not mesh. Your intentions may not mesh. Whatever reason. You still may wind up exchanging business cards with that person, but don't feel compelled to pursue this path of, maintaining and sustaining a professional relationship if the person just isn't a match. Just, concede that there are going to be some people it's just not going to work for you. So don't be upset about that. Ooh, Sophia, I will get back to that question at our next break, but that's a good question. Channel your inner Oprah. Now, for me, it's Oprah. For you, it could be someone else. What I meant was going back to the Eric Stratton, the Rush chairman, "Dan, glad to meet you." Even for me, even now, there are still times when I still have to muster the courage to go into a room and network with people. Again, because it's a skill. It's a skill that you have to practice and you have to hone. And, even professional athletes have bad days off. So even though I've been doing this for a while, there's even times when I'm just like, all right, what would Oprah do? What would Oprah do? Oprah would walk in and say, you get a business card. You get a business card. You get a business card. Everybody gets a business card. So for me, it's Oprah. And for you, it might be someone else. And it may not even be a person. It may be a thing. Maybe whatever your spirit animal is. Do what you need to do to get yourself pumped up to go into a situation to network with people. That's the best piece of advice I can give you, especially for in-person, because that's usually the most intimidating for people. I'm not telling you to change your personality. I'm not telling you to be someone else, which I think a lot of people think that is what I'm telling them. I want you to draw from someone who will inspire you to go through with the networking, which for a lot of people gives them a lot of social anxiety. Another way to deal with that is to have a wing person, and that's why I have this little graphic there from How I Met Your Mother. Barney's line was always, "Have you met Ted?" Walk around with a couple, say you go to an SLA conference, walk around with a couple San Jose State students. And, go in a pack and, have a wing person and maybe identify someone who's going to be the Barney who will, you'll all remain quiet while, he or she will maybe make headway into a group and then turn around and say, hey, have you met my colleagues? So, have a wing person or, or a posse, if you will, to walk around with if possible. Another tip is to look for the name tag and the lanyard ribbons, and this is more so at conferences. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, a lot of conferences, no matter which it is, will have these little ribbons of different colors, and I'll have, divisions or funny expressions or geographic areas, things like that. Again, they're talking points. Someone might have, a San Jose State alum ribbon or something like that, so you can go up to the person, oh, hey, I go there now. Look for things to give you an entryway for a conversation, because generally people love to talk about themselves. So, you can say, then you can turn it into, oh, so tell me about your, library school experience there. Bam, they're often talking and everything. So, some other things I wanted to mention is check out meetup.com. And this isn't necessarily library related, but if you need practice meeting people in person, go to an event, say if you're into crafting, go to a knitting meetup, or say you're into sports, go to some like pickup league or something. Go to something where you can hone this skill. I actually would encourage people to get practice elsewhere than in the library field, because you want to diversify your ability to talk to people, because in the end, that's going to help you interact with your clients or your patrons and your work experience. So, don't live in a bubble. All your patrons aren't going to be other librarians. So practice your skill on different groups of people. And just leads into my next bullet point of, attend things. Go to meetups. Go to, book readings. Go, whatever it is that interests you. My thing right now is I'm really into cybersecurity and information security, and I go to all these tech events, and I'm just going to events, and yeah, I'm not really making great networking connections right now because I'm not in that industry. But you know what? I'm practicing talking to them. It's a different way to talk to tech people than it is to talk to librarians. So I'm putting myself out there, trying to figure out the little nuances of how to talk to people. Last thing for this slide that I want to mention is don't forget to network within your organization or your academic institution or wherever it is that you're going to be working. So this first, if you're not working right now, this is for your future advice. This podcast that I put there is specifically about cybersecurity. So there are some terms in this podcast that you might not understand, but there's a good chunk of this podcast that talks a lot about networking within your organization, to use skills to find allies within your organization to have them work better with you within your company. And that's something that librarians need, because if you work in corporate America or in a law firm or things like that, or I guess even or in an academic institution, you really need to be a champion for the library. You may also have to be the bearer of news that people don't like copyright enforcement or other things. So you need to network within your organization, to have advocates and allies in order to get your message across. So that is another good way to practice. There's other ways to network too. Social media, LinkedIn and Twitter are really kind of the two best ones that I've used. And then shameless plug, we're doing a Twitter chat for Authority Talk on the 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I can have Grace or Basha send out more information about that later. Don't forget good old-fashioned email or the telephone. Reach out and network. If you're old enough, you know where I got the reach out and network with someone from. Ask for an informational interview. If someone works in the industry that you're eyeing up, ask them for 15 minutes of their time over the phone. Or send an email to ask, may I talk to you for 15 minutes, to network with them that way. And the screenshot I put there was an example of how you network through Twitter. This was a much longer conversation, but the gist of it was this Deborah Millar is in England, and I tweeted some of her articles. She's actually very much involved with using social media as an academic learning tool. So long story short, she picked up that I was tweeting her stuff, and we were going back and forth, and basically I just said, hey, Librarian Ninja, who's Leslie Howerton Hicks, the one I co-wrote the paper with, and I would love to collaborate with you on something, because we also talk a lot about using social media for networking and professional development, things like that. So, basically we ended the conversation with, she said to me, yeah, we should talk more. I'm on holiday right now. She used a bunch of emojis, and I pointed out to her, okay, the fact that she used a wind emoji means, yeah, we're going to get along really swell. So, again, it took, a couple, maybe half an hour total back and forth over Twitter, and, able to make a connection. So that's networking. Again, doesn't get much easier than that. All right. All right. We are at 9:35 here. So let me go back. I believe it was Sophia who asked about the photo. I don't really have, whoops, I think I scrolled past your question, but I believe I got that right. I really don't have an opinion on that. On one hand, somebody could argue maybe for a safety issue, but then if you have your photo on social media anyway, I don't know. So, Sophia, can you put in the chat box maybe why you asked that? Maybe that'll help me answer it better. Does anybody, the 1/3 rule, Kate Spalding said the 1/3 rule sounds like dating. Yeah, well, it's relationships. It's networking it's a professional relationship. So yeah, you're right. You could, if you wanted to dare say, yeah, you're basically trying to figure out who you're going to quote unquote date professionally, and I realized how that sounded, and that's not what I meant. But yeah, oops. And what else do we have here? Uh-oh, did we lose sound? Okay. I don't know if Sophia can hear me. Uh-oh. So anyway, so I don't know if Sophia can hear me. So anyway, Sophia's question. Oh, okay. So Sophia, do you in the chat box, did you have any more specific reason why you asked that? Because I just want to give you a good answer, but I guess I'm not really sure why you asked. Because the only thing I could think of is if your photo's on social media. I mean, to me, I think the photo on a calling card seems a little maybe like for the arts. I'm not sure if it's necessary for our profession. Like, it seems like the kind of thing like a performance person would do, like an actress or a dancer. To look like, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to get more information. I'm not opposed to it if you feel comfortable doing it. Why not if you want to? I guess I would make sure it's not a selfie. Oh, yeah, see, here's a tip. There's this place called Picture People. It's in a lot of malls, and most oftentimes there's Groupons that you can get, say for like $20, you can get a professionally done photo. And my photo, the one of me in the red sweater, that was done at the mall. I mean, it's $20. So definitely don't use a selfie. Get a professionally done photo. You want it to look good. And I try to use mine consistently. So my Twitter, my LinkedIn, anything professional has that same professionally taken photo. I'm starting to scroll up. Heather said many sources say not to do it, so it's good. Yeah, sorry, no one's ever asked me that question before, and I guess it would just be personal preference. I mean, I guess the only thing I can think of is that if someone's going to go to connect with you on LinkedIn anyway, they'll see your picture there. So yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say if it's your personal, whatever your personal preference is. I can't really think of a good argument not to. But that was an excellent question. Who said Hope had a follow-up question, I believe?
Yeah, I was wondering, if you're walking around at a conference and you're getting all these different business cards or calling cards and talking to all these different people, do you have any way that you remember who is who when you get home and you have this stack of business cards?
That is an excellent question. I can give you a couple different tips and tricks that I've either used myself or have heard people do. One very basic one is just remember. I know that this is bad advice. I'm just telling you. One option is when you get back, just remember. Another option is write on the back of the card some points that will help you remember. Because your brain is going to pull things out of the interaction you had with that person is why you want to remember them. So write those down. The best time to do that is as soon as, your conversation breaks apart. Just scribble that down. I know that other people have mentioned things like, maybe taking a picture of the card right away and sending them an email right there on the spot, to which I argued, because the person said that they literally just stand there. Actually, they don't even take the card. They just stand there with their device and send an email to them. And I said, well, while they're standing there awkwardly watching you type? And he said, yes, and very proudly. And I said, well, that seems kind of rude. So I would say a modification of that, maybe take a picture of the card and email yourself and then quickly, type out some notes so that you go back and you have all those, in your inbox. Let's see, what other ways to do that? Yeah, I mean, right, that's really pretty much it I can think. I think I've gotten to the point where I don't know, I just know. I get back from the conference and I go through my stack and I just kind of remember, but I know that's not for everyone. I know, is that helping at all? Somebody mentioned Evernote. Yeah, I mean, use technology to your advantage. If I like collecting business cards, but if you really don't want those cards laying around, then take pictures. But remember to back your data up, and things like that. Yeah, and Tyler mentioned, little pocket notebook. Yeah, like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not a neophyte. I love technology and everything, but I would just be concerned that, don't rely too much on, any, just try to, keep your notes together. So whether it's written or digital notes, just make sure that, you don't go and lose everything. So that's why I like to hold on to the cards. And I'm just thinking, we're running short on time. I can't think of any else. Does that help at all, though?
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, why don't we move on here? I told you I like to talk a lot, so. Okay, let's go on to maintaining. All right, so how do you maintain a network? Well, there's a couple different ways. So, oops, let me copy and paste this. So I'm going to do a, shameless self-plug here. I have, whoops, that's not it. Oh, crap. Okay, so, sorry, let me get back here. The first one is, just keep in touch with people. I put a link there to a good link about, just once in a while, keep in touch with people. How you doing? What's going on with you? Be genuinely interested in the people that you want to have in your network, which leads me to my next one. Be empathetic. Empathy. I cannot stress this enough. Don't be disingenuous with your professional networking. Be interested in what the person has to say. And if you really just can't muster that within you, then there might be some deeper issues here that I can't help you with. But, have some empathy and, listen. Someone might want 15 minutes of your time just to vent about something. You might have a solution that they hadn't thought of, and there you go. There's your professional network, working for you. The other thing that I want to mention is know what's going on out there, and the out there is keep in mind, be mindful of what's going on in your professional world. So read what's going on with your chapter. Say it's SLA related. Read what's going on in your chapter. Stay abreast of what's going on in the industry. Know what's going on. Because if you're taking yourself out of that, then how are you going to be able to converse with your professional colleagues if you don't know what's going on? So I hope this is making sense. Like I said, just make sure you know what's going on. So it's just real simple rules. And yes, some of these take time, but you know what? How much time do you spend looking at listicles on BuzzFeed when you could send a quick text, email, tweet to someone saying, hey, how's it going? How are things with you? So think of it that way. Think about the time that you spend, going down rabbit holes on the internet when you could sit, for example, I have about a 40-minute train ride where I like to go through social media, send some emails real quick, send some texts, kind of go through your mental, list of people that you definitely want to, keep in contact more often than others and check in with them. And those are some good clicks there. And what I was trying to post, which I guess we can get this out later, or go to my blog, librarysherpa.com. I wrote a blog post last August, actually. August 2014. The blog post is called Cultivate Your Network Like a Garden. If you search my site just for garden, this will come up. But that's really, your network is a garden. Just like, with crops or anything like that, if you go to one field too often, you're going to what? You're going to, dry up the soil. You're going to draw all the nutrients out of it. You're not going to have, you're not going to have a useful set of land to grow anything on. So you need to rotate crops, rotate fields, rotate your network. So don't keep going to the same person all the time to ask them for help for something like that, because you're going to get on their nerves. So, or don't keep in touch with them so often that it's creepy. So just like a garden, just like crops, just like agriculture, kind of rotate things, keep in touch with people, but you have to maintain them. Go back and do some pruning, do some weeding. Don't let things lie too long, because then you're going to forget why you're even networking with them in the first place. So I think I've killed this whole garden analogy, but read my blog post. It's on my blog, librarysherpa.com. Just search for garden. All right. So this one I want to show you. This actually happened today. I was on Twitter and I saw this, and I actually asked these two people whom I know for their permission to use this, and they said yes. So how easy is it to maintain a professional network? Okay, so my friend Brandy sent a tweet to Maleeff, who is in England, And I'm not going to read you the tweets because you can see them yourself. But yeah, just out of the blue, she was doing it because I asked her about it privately. She was doing exactly what she's doing is what I just talked about. She hadn't heard from Neve in a while, hadn't seen what was going on. She hadn't been on Twitter in a while. She wanted to see, so she sent a note to Neve. Neve wrote back, so she got, she's maintaining that network. So how long did that take? That took no time at all, because in the meantime, I was talking to Brandy about it, going, oh my God, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about tonight. So she still had time to multitask, get in touch with Neve, hear back from Neve, because then their conversation went on a little bit longer, a couple more tweets. It's that easy. It's that easy. So some examples are, did you see, this is like through LinkedIn or whatever, did you see that someone got a new job or promotion, an award, or a position within a professional association? Drop them a quick note or a voicemail or a text. Congratulate them. Just say something. Say, oh, hey, I saw you got an award. Great job. Hope you're doing well. Done. Conversely, did you hear about somebody losing a job? Reach out to them. The example I wanted to give is when I was chair of the legal division for SLA, this giant law firm, Dewey & LaBeouf, went under, and lots of people lost their jobs, specifically some of the librarians who were members of the division. Now, I did this, I was chair of the legal division, so I felt that this was part of my job. So I reached out to those members who worked for Dewey & LaBeouf, and I sent them emails, and I said, I'm so sorry about what happened with your firm, and is there anything we can do? Do you want me to send your resume out to our listserv? What can we do? Reach out to people even in bad times too, because you know what, they appreciate it. Wouldn't you appreciate it if you just lost your job and somebody emailed you and said, I don't, even if they just said, I don't really know what I can do to help, but if you want, me to pass your resume along to someone, let me know. Even something like if someone loses an election from a professional association, I always like to send a quick note to someone who loses an SLA election. It's like, oh, you know what, thank you so much for running. Because seriously, that's someone who is committing to our professional association. Just send even notes like that. And I've had people reply to me and say, it just really made their day that I sent them that note. And I'm not doing this because I want the adulation. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And that's how I feel. I strongly feel that, like the empathy part that I mentioned, this is the right thing to do. We're all humans. We're all working together. You know what? Just have some empathy. Help celebrate their victories, help mourn their losses. It's all about maintaining your professional network. All right, we have another quick question break here. Oops. All right, let me go back here. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked the garden metaphor. Yeah, apologize. I'm going a little quicker at the end here because I see that we're running low on time. All right, well, if nobody has any questions, then I'm just going to keep going. I was going to say plow ahead, but I was like, oh, I already killed the garden metaphor, right? So, now how do you sustain a network? All right, so this is a little more abstract here, but just bear with me. So I think, does everybody understand? Everybody understands how to create a network. Everybody should understand how you maintain a network, by keeping in touch with people and everything. Well, sustaining is going to be those two over time. So let's have like a really weird math formula here. Sustaining a network is, creation plus maintaining over time. So what you need to do then is, for sustaining, is you need to convert some of these professional connections to either a mentor, an advisor, or an advocate. And I'll explain in a minute how I am interpreting those, how I consider those to be. So a mentor is pretty straightforward. It's someone, who is, interested in your life and your career, is someone you can talk to, someone you trust. It's usually someone who is, more advanced in their career than you are. Personally, I have two mentees, and I call them my official mentees, as opposed to, I'm using air quotes that you can't see, as opposed to my many unofficial mentees. So my official mentees are two SLA members. One is in Canada, one is in Ireland. with whom I actually wrote up, and I guess maybe this is because I'm a nerdy law librarian, a little contract of expectations. This is what I expect from you. This is what you should expect from me. If at any time we feel like this relationship is not, satisfactory without any animosity, we, either one can end it. And that's just, so that we don't waste each other's time. Because if, I'm not taking on a mentee who isn't willing to try. Because I have a little, come to Sherpa call with my mentees before I bring them on officially. And it's like, look, I'm from Philadelphia, so I speak very bluntly. I may use all capitals and exclamation points in an email if I want you to do something. It doesn't mean I'm mad at you. It's just I'm just from Philadelphia. So I make sure that they understand that so they're not put off about it. Then the unofficial mentees are just people that I kind of know, award winners, younger, professionals, new professionals, that I like to kind of eavesdrop in their lives every once in a while and kind of offer advice and things like that, and some of them come to me. So how you can do that with a network, again, is, try to figure out at some point, I mean, this isn't early on, but at some point you're going to want to, you might be able to identify someone that you want to have, a closer relationship, professional relationship with, that they can help you. So that's going to, develop over a little bit longer period of time because, you're putting a lot of trust in that person. And you do need that kind of outright ask. I mean, in my case, I basically just told my two mentees I was going to mentor them and I wouldn't take no for an answer. But in other cases, you do need to ask someone if they don't offer, because not everyone's going to offer. It might not occur to them, to do that, because there's also the whole imposter syndrome thing where people don't think they can be a mentor because they don't have anything to offer. So it's not that they're mean or rude, but they just might have some self-doubt and think that they can't help you. So you may need to ask them, and if they're asked, I'm like, oh yeah, right, I do have things I can offer. So an advisor, in my mind, is someone who's going to be less involved with you personally, but again, is someone that you can go to, for some quick hits, so tips and things like that. And again, as you grow your network, you're going to be able to identify in your mind how to categorize some people. And an advocate is, again, is someone, just like the word is, someone who's going to be on your side for things. I would say an advocate is probably someone more in your workplace, who's someone who can literally advocate for you within your workplace. But, again, these are kind of just my own definitions, so, your mileage may vary. But I see an advocate as someone within your organization that you have them take on a part mentor, part advisor role, but is able to actually help you within your, your workplace by speaking up for you and talking you up to other people. All right. I see we have another question break already, but you know what? We are getting short on time, so let's just, actually, let me see real quick. Yes. Okay, no questions. All right, let's just move ahead, because I do have a very last question break, so we can save anything for there. All right. Here's some recommended reading. And I'm going to explain. Some of these you might be looking at going, why is she telling me to read this? Harvard Business Review has some of the best articles about networking that I've ever seen. And this is one thing that I wanted to mention to you guys. I hate this term so much, I'm sorry, but think outside the box. Think outside the box. Go to other industries to get information. You need to read articles or books or journals from other industries and be smart enough to pick out what you can use in your own life and your LIS career. So I've done some of the homework for you. So Harvard Business Review, again, it's going to be, business-centric and everything, but you know what? Really good stuff. Same thing for Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is going to have, very, money-savvy, business creation, startup sort of information, but they're the people who need the network. So you know what? Go to because they have to get funds and all that stuff and get their startups off the ground. So they're going to know how to network. So why don't you read what they're, what they're writing? I found that link from the University of Michigan. The Master Social Media to Get Ahead. In a nutshell, it's basically just it would be good if you can get, social media savvy, just to be able to network better. Networking for Nerds I found on a technology website, but since there are similarities in some of the social anxieties, if you will, I guess, between librarians and the tech community, I thought that was a good one. This Michael Goldberg, I actually saw him speak, and the reason why I mentioned his book, and his book is straight up for like salespeople and things like that. So as I wrote on there, if you're going to be in a situation where you might have to deal with sales reps and vendors, it's helpful if you understand where they're coming from in order to deal with them. And just a quick story about that is my husband has an MBA and he's been in sales for a long time, and I came home one night from work really frustrated and I was dealing with a vendor. Long story short, he said to me, "You're talking to that vendor like they're a librarian. They're not a librarian, they're a salesperson. They're not going to, talk to you. They're not talking to you like you're a librarian. They're just talking to you. So you know what? You need to speak their language." So if this is something that you think that you're going to be dealing with, then kind of read up on the quote-unquote competition a little bit. The last one, I mentioned this actually in the last San Jose State session that I did. Who Moved My Cheese is just good for dealing with change in general. It's just a good book. And there's also, if you go to YouTube, you can watch it. It's like a 16-minute video. Oh, we're getting really close to the end here. All right. I love RuPaul. RuPaul is my spirit animal. So if I'm not channeling Oprah, I'm channeling RuPaul. So I have a couple bullet points here on my end that I just wanted to read here. So to sum up, we have like 2 minutes left. In summary, remember that networking is a skill to be practiced and honed. Get business cards, calling cards, and whether you want your photo on them or not, just have something that you can give to people so that they can get in touch with you via phone, email, social media, however you want to put yourself out there. At a very minimum, get social media proficient. Savvy would be much better, but proficient, is a good place to start if you're not already. And when I'm talking about social media proficiency and savvy, I'm talking about professionally. Know the difference between professional tweeting and tweeting, personal. If that means that you have 2 different accounts, you have 2 different accounts. Just know that there is a big difference between tweeting. My library Sherpa does have some personal things on it, but you know what? It makes me think. It makes me think before I tweet. My boss follows me. I know a lot. I have 22-something under followers, and I know some very influential people, my boss being one of them, follows me. So it makes me, you're darn right, I think before I tweet. Am I going to get in trouble about something? Get information management savvy. Don't get overwhelmed with info, because remember I told you need to keep track of what's going on in, your community, your profession, some of these articles from the Harvard Business Review and Entrepreneur. Make sure you have a system, because otherwise you're just going to have information overload and you're not going to be able to keep up with these articles. So make sure you have something in place. As I said before, I mentioned RuPaul's my spirit animal, and I also use Oprah. Channel the energy of someone or something that you need to get through a situation that is outside your comfort zone. That's the easiest way I can say it. Just whatever is going to just propel you to get you through a situation that you're uncomfortable with. Remember that professional networking is a reciprocal relationship. Tend to your networking garden, don't overuse some contacts, and don't neglect others. It is another point here is it's a professional relationship building. Some may transform into friendships, some may not. Determine what boundaries you want to have and enforce the boundaries if necessary. You may not want to be best buddies with all these people that you meet, and that's fine. I know I showed you that picture, lots of slides earlier. For the most part, I do become friends with a lot of my professional networks, contacts, and everything, but also to varying degree of friends. It's up to you. But if someone is being too forceful you set up boundaries. You're in control here. Don't let someone try to, manipulate you. Remember, schmoozing. Do not let someone try to manipulate you. This is, you're in control. Again, I don't like using the word think outside the box, so maybe think different, which is what, those apples or a long time ago. So read articles, books from other industries, learn how to extract key pieces of information from a seemingly vastly different resource and apply it to your situation. Otherwise, you know what happens? You're in a professional echo chamber. Okay? You need to hear stuff from the outside because it's not going to do you any good. You're not going to grow. So lastly, I'm going to leave you with this. A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. All right. So ask any other questions, and if I had a mic right now, I'd drop it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did talking about it.
Thank you very much, Tracy.
Well, thank you for your feedback, Kate. I'm glad. That was my goal. Kate's comment was you made me feel a little less anxious. Thank you. That was my goal. I want you guys to don't be scared to go into a room and network. So whether it's an annual conference or just a local meeting, you are in control. But I can't tell you how much my life has benefited from, having professional networks. I've met people from all over the world. I meet so many people, and I have varying degrees of friendship with some of them. When I'm going to the UK over Christmas, and 2 out of the 3, well, actually every place I'm going in the UK, I'm seeing people, seeing librarians, everyone whom I've networked with. Same with some of them. I mean, again, that's one extreme, but I wouldn't have the job that I have right now if it weren't for networking. I mentioned it earlier. I met my boss at the conference. I kept in touch with her. I maintained that network. I didn't overdo it, but we met just enough that I told her about I was unhappy at my old job, and she called me one day and she whispered into the phone. She said, "Is your office door closed?" And I said, "Well, it can be. What's up?" And she said, "Email me your resume right away. So-and-so just quit." And I got the fast track, in for this job that I've been in now for 7 years. So, I mean, I can't think of a better example of networking than that. So does anybody have any other questions or anything? And I hope this wasn't too much duplication from May. I know May was a whole different topic, but I know I did get into networking a little bit. I hope my dogs weren't too loud. I guess they got downstairs. I could hear them running up and down the stairs. I don't know how loud that was.
I didn't hear them at all.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Oh, is there a question?
Sorry, no, Rebecca attended my my quick take in Boston about legal research using Twitter. Thank you, Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca, were you the one that I met in person? That I apologize, I was like crazy busy every time oh, okay, hi. I'm so sorry. Every time Rebecca came to talk to me at the conference, I was like completely frazzled. I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah, the conference, like I was chair of the conference this year. I spent 2 years working on that conference. And yes, Rebecca, thank you so much for your patience. I was like completely overwhelmed every time I saw you. Well, basically, I was overwhelmed the entire time, but I felt bad every time I saw you. I was like, oh, God, she's going to think I'm terrible. But yeah, so just a quick plug. SLA 2016 annual conference is going to be here in Philadelphia, June 12th through 14th. I'm going to be involved with local arrangements. What else is going on? Internet Librarian is going to be in Monterey, California at the end of October for those of you out that way. And I'm going to be a moderator at Internet Librarian. And I'm moderating the tech track, which I'm very excited about. So if you just Google Internet Librarian 2015, again, only if you can easily get to Monterey, California, that's something for you to think about. But what else is coming up? ALA Midwinter is in Boston. Good luck with that. I don't know where ALA big conference is. But try to go to conferences, even if it's, or even if it's just meetings. Try to get out there and do stuff. So cool. All right, well, I'm going to go play with my doggies. And I thank you all so much for listening and being in on this call. And yeah, I'd love to do more if you'll have me. And somebody can contact me about that later.
Thank you very much, Tracy. And thank you for all the great information. And thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. And the link to the recording will be posted on our website later in the next couple of weeks. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye.